Okay, this proof is not for the faint of heart, including me. All right, so I'm going to show you how this stacks up. So I'll do this side in blue and the other side in red, just so you can distinguish the two sides. All right, so I'm going to do sine x cosine y plus cosine x sine y times big parentheses. Now I've got to do this piece. This is a times right there. So this is going to give you sine x cosine y minus cosine x sine y. And then when I multiply them together, we'll just make it purple with the red and the blue, right? Okay, this is like this huge in blue and red. Here, I'll go back in blue and red. This is like, oh, that won't work. It doesn't make sense what color I make it. It's like a big A plus B times A minus B, and I'm about to multiply that out. This is my A, this is my B, this is A and minus B, because they're the same thing. You see that? You see how they end up with the two A's look the same, the two B's look the same. Well, this is equal to A squared minus B squared because it's a dot property, right? It's back from Algebra 1, actually. All right, so I'm going to multiply those out. And what I get is I get my A squared, and it is sine squared x cosine squared y minus sine, oh, when you know it, cosine, my bad. Back to this, cosine squared x sine squared y. And since I'm working toward all cosines, I'm going to change out both my sine and both my sine squares with 1 minus cosine. 1 minus cosine squared x cosine y. That is a cosine squared y. Minus 1 minus sine squared. That's not the one I want to do. Oopsies. Let's get this taken care of. All right. I think this is what I want to do. Cosine squared x times 1 minus cosine squared y. Okay, and then what that leaves me when I multiply through is cosine squared y minus, okay, so I'm having to multiply 1 times cosine and then cosine. So what I'm going to do just for fun here is take the second one that I'm multiplying out, because the first one I did in purple, but the second one I'm going to do in red. I've got minus cosine squared x cosine squared y. All right. And then all I have to do now is distribute this cosine to the one and the cosine to the other cosine. So I'm going to do the first one in the blue or purple again. This first one in blue. So that's minus cosine squared x. And then in red, this times the second one. Okay, be careful. It is a negative that I'm multiplying. So negative times negative is positive. Cosine squared x cosine squared y. Now, if you notice what is left, this one matches this one, But the first one's a negative, the second one's positive. So that means that whole stinking thing goes away. And all it leaves me is cosine squared of y minus cosine squared of x. And I'm done. I got it. This is definitely a bonus type problem. I would not expect you to be able to do it by yourself. This would be very difficult. On the scale of 1 to 10, it's a good 8.5 or 9. It's up there. It's up there. If you were an accelerated, I would say, oh, yeah, you can do this. But we're not. So that's okay. But I wanted to show you how this worked. Okay? Thank you. And sorry I messed this up second period for you. But it is now corrected. I just need to be able to wrap my brain around it. Have a good one.